Non-citizens haven't been allowed to vote in New York City until now.
Historic decision by the city council today means hundreds of thousands more people will now have access to the ballot box.
Okay, so how do you guys feel about migrants being allowed to vote in elections? I personally am against it, but the city of New York thinks differently. Let's talk about it. Okay, so if you watch this channel, you know we talk a lot about the migrant crisis and the border crisis because it's literally going insane. Now, this all came to a head during the Biden administration. See, under previous presidents, Obama, Trump, Bush, going back to even Reagan, there was a simple answer to illegal immigration, right? Deportation, right? You come here illegally, you have no real reason, you try to skip the process, you go back to your country, right? Obama, for instance, was known as the deporter-in-chief.
One of the many criticisms of Donald Trump centers on his pledge to deport, to forcibly relocate all 11 million undocumented immigrants in the US in his first 2 years in office. But remember, this is how he defended that odious policy in the second presidential debate.
Nobody knows about it, nobody talks about it, but under Obama, millions of people have been moved out of this country, they've been deported.
Now, annoyingly, he's got a point. Kind of. The truth is that the Obama administration has deported 2.5 million undocumented immigrants from the United States over 2 terms. 2.5 million. That's the highest number for any president ever. In fact, Obama is on course to have deported more people in his 8 years in office than all of the presidents of the 20th century combined. I guess that explains why his immigration enforcement budget in 2015 was a whopping $18 billion. That's $3 billion more than the budgets of all the other major domestic law enforcement agencies combined.
Now, that is the way we've done things for generations, right? We deport people who are here illegally, and Obama took it to the next level. Trump gets in the office, he says, hey, I'm going to do the Obama policy, but he happens to be white, and white guys talking about deporting people of color, it's automatically racist, right? You know, it reminds me of that song.
It's cool when they do it, it's a problem when I do it.
So as you can see, it was cool when the Democrats were doing it, it's a problem when the Republicans did it. What can you do? Now, we have places in the United States that are known as sanctuary cities. Essentially, what they're saying is that if immigrants, illegal immigrants, make it to those places, they will give them sanctuary. They're not going to deport them. They're going to give them benefits. And matter of fact, in the case of New York City, they're even going to allow you to vote. You think I'm joking? Check it out.
Intro 1867A is hereby adopted.
With a vote of 33-14, the New York City Council moves to give non-citizen New Yorkers the right to vote.
We're doing it the right way by expanding voting rights.
Councilman Adonis Rodriguez is a sponsor of the bill, which will allow about 800,000 immigrants with green cards, work authorization, and DACA recipients to vote in local elections.
And we will be kind of role model, not only for the state of New York, but also for the whole nation.
So the 3 requirements that allow non-citizens to vote are you either have your green card, you either are a DACA recipient, or you're an illegal alien with work authorization, right? One of those 3 will allow you to vote in municipal elections. So now New York City had an issue. The Texas governor and the Arizona governor started sending migrants to New York City en masse. And the first thing the mayor and governor started asking the federal government to do was give the migrants work authorization. Check it out.
Now to the migrant crisis and a new appeal from Governor Hochul and Mayor Adams calling on President Biden to speed up work permits for migrants in New York City.
They're eager to work. They want to work. They came here in search of work.
Governor Hochul, Mayor Adams, and other New York elected officials appealing to the Biden administration to help asylum seekers get jobs more quickly. Right now, the wait can be months or longer for someone who's applied for asylum to get a temporary work authorization.
It is creating an underground market where individuals could be exploited, unable to pay into our tax base, working long and difficult and dangerous jobs because they are living in the shadow of the American dream and not out front.
New York elected officials believe if the federal government removes roadblocks to employment for migrants, it could help solve the labor shortage in city restaurants and on farms upstate.
So now you have to obviously see the plan. They passed a law saying that if you have a work authorization, you can now vote in elections. They then tell Biden, hey, give these people the ability to work. but that also would give them the ability to vote in elections.
Well, questions being raised tonight about a new pilot program that'll give migrant families a reloadable prepaid credit card to buy food and baby supplies.
All right, it would replace the food boxes given to asylum seekers staying in hotels.
Now, there was a major wrench thrown in this plan, and this wrench came from Republicans in the city of New York. They sued the city over this plan to allow migrants to vote just because they have work authorizations, and they won. A judge in New York said this is highly unconstitutional and you can't allow non-citizens to vote in elections. It dilutes the vote of the actual citizens. Here's what happened.
New developments in the fight over voting rights. Non-citizens living in New York City will not be allowed to vote in local elections. A judge blocking the measure today after New York became the first city in the nation to grant those rights to non-citizens back in January.
The law would have allowed nearly 1 million people to vote in the city's municipal elections. But as CBS 2's Christina Fan reports, Republicans challenged the measure and they won.
This is what democracy sounds like. A day before the primary election, a major blow for voting rights advocates. Just 7 months ago, they rallied on the same city hall steps to give non-citizens the right to vote. Today, they learned the short-lived law was defeated in court.
We're emphasizing how important it is to emphasize your voice, and yet we continue to let 1 million New Yorkers remain silent in this process.
Passed last December, Local Law 11 granted immigrants with green cards, work authorization, and DACA recipients the right to vote in municipal elections starting next year. But on Monday, the Richmond County Supreme Court struck down the groundbreaking expansion, saying it violated the Constitution.
The law is as clear as possibly could be.
City Council Minority Leader Joe Borelli was among the group of Republican lawmakers who sued the city, arguing it would change how they campaign and dilute votes.
Every administration, including the de Blasio administration, the Bloomberg administration, has been clear saying that this law would be unconstitutional and against the current statute. And now a judge has affirmed that position.
Now, the city is appealing that decision in hopes that a higher court overturns this lower court ruling, allowing immigrants and non-citizens to vote in municipal elections. Now, the news media has been making fun of former President Trump because he sounded the alarm that, hey, unauthorized migrants may be able to vote if things go the way the Democrats want, but the news media is claiming that it ignores reality.
Staten Island Congresswoman Nicole Maliotakis claims the city is trying to illegally register some migrants to vote. She says asylum seekers at a shelter on Staten Island are being encouraged to register to vote in upcoming municipal elections. Maliotakis says a city contract with a nonprofit that runs that shelter requires voter registration cards be distributed. City Council passed a law allowing non-citizens to vote in municipal elections, but it has not gone into effect while it's tied up in court. The city's Department of Social Services says, quote, these allegations are false and baseless. DSS is legally required to include language around voter registration in shelter contracts, and this guidance applies only to eligible clients who are citizens.
So now I'm going to throw the question to you. Should illegal immigrants coming across the southern border, when they get work authorization, be allowed to vote in elections? Now, I say no. I say this is a ridiculous idea. But it seems like the good people in New York City believes that this is a great idea. Matter of fact, they are still tied up in court trying to make it happen today. I think this is insane. Now, don't get me wrong. I understand you want to take care of migrants. You have a big heart, but there are limits to the game. We have benefits as citizens. We pay our taxes, we vote in elections, we get to determine. Someone who just comes across the border essentially lying about why they want to be here, right? They're economic migrants saying that, hey, I just want a better life and want to circumvent our normal process. They shouldn't be rewarded by having the ability to vote in elections. That just doesn't make any sense to me. But people say that I'm a right-wing lunatic. Maybe you think that. But if you do think I'm incorrect, let me know in the comment section, because I think this is outrageous. I would be willing to vote everybody who's even thinking about this out in New York. But as you know, New York's a very liberal place, so those people aren't going anywhere. But as of right now, there's a pause on it. If the New York City government gets what they want, all of the migrants in New York City will be allowed to vote and will have work authorization. That's the reality. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, do all that great YouTube stuff. My name is Nate the Lawyer, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.